Good morning, everybody. First of 2026. And sorry, together here. And so there's a lot of stuff going on this week. Before we do that, I want to do some shout outs. So our first shout out says, can you run this shout out? Can shout outs be at the end of videos, please? That way people who like them can keep watching, but for those of us who don't, we don't have to do the skip button. Also, Kelly Tyrell and our 3 Bernies, Mountain Dogs in Evergreen, Colorado. And game night at Matt's house. So thank you all. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Welcome to live Q&A here. So I want to talk before we jump into questions, and you can start asking questions whenever you would like. Just checking to make sure the sound is working. I would like to talk about what's happening this week. There's a lot going on this week. First of all, we have lots of different videos and things going up that are happening. But also, we are on Thursday and Friday doing our 30-hour marathon. We're going to start at 9 a.m. on Thursday and go to 3 p.m. Friday and just be playing games and all kinds of hoopla. So why are we doing this on Thursday, Friday? Because Wednesday at noon is a live Q&A with all of us, and we're launching our fundraiser on GameFound for the Dice Tower. So if you don't know what we're talking about, I'd like you to consider, if you like what we do, if you've noticed, it's free. It's on YouTube. Anyone can access it and watch it. But if you would like to support us, and we would like you to support us so that we can keep doing this for another year, then we ask that you back us there. There'll be all kinds of, there's some physical rewards, cool promos. We have a new underwater theme this year. We have coasters and dice towers and things like that. But also, you can just back us with no reward, which is the best for us because it's not even no reward. Every reward is we do another year's worth of content. So that's coming out this Wednesday. You can get ready to be notified when it launches. You can go to supportdicetower.com. and you'll see that there. Anyhow, let's jump into some questions. And if you have questions about whatever, now's your chance to ask them, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. Kenneth says, I'd like to see more games with acrylic standees and fewer miniatures. Do you think the market will go to that direction to some degree? Possibly. Acrylic standees are awesome. I really like them. I think they look better than miniatures in many ways. They do not always look good 3D. So if you have some people sitting around a board, not always easy to see them. Sometimes they also block views of things behind them. It all depends. I think it's situational, but I do like acrylic standees a lot. Well, I need to let someone into my house, apparently. My auto gate thing did not work, so give me 1 second. This is oh, there we go. It's open. Okay, let's continuing on. Catching up here. Mike put the 2026 campaign in there. Who gets the night shift? Well, we haven't scheduled things out too much. The only thing that we schedule is I come in at 2 a.m. Me and my late night crew, early morning crew, I guess, is what that is. So I know I'll be on then. My daughter's birthday is on Thursday, so I'm going to celebrate a little bit of that with her, but I'll be on a lot of the time in the camera. Do you think we'll see more board games with app integration? Yeah, I think so. But you're saying, do we think we'll see more? Yes, we'll see more of them. I don't know what the question is. You're asking if we're going to see a growth in the number that come out, because I think it's the same number coming out. I don't think it's always necessary. I think that sometimes it works well. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. And for those who worry about it, doesn't matter because it's still less than 1% of all games that use it. Which member at the Dice Tower team would be best at surviving a zombie apocalypse? Probably Kenny. My wife saw your review for Jingle Bell Roll and wanted to pick it up. Did you also play Holiday Hills? If so, is it worth getting at the same time? We haven't reviewed Holiday Hills yet. I'm assuming we'll review it here soon at some point. I did not love that one as much. I felt that was a game that I didn't think the rule book was particularly well written, but I think it's a much ado about nothing. There's a lot of rules for a very basic game. I think you should play with the advanced rules. I thought it was fine at best. How many times have you already not been to the gym this year? Well, that seems like a rude question. But I don't go to the gym. My main method of exercise is walking in my neighborhood. I've been walking now for 55 days straight, so I'm really working on that. My blood pressure, the doctor told me, was entirely too high to a very strong point. So I'm working on that, working on losing weight. I can fit in vests again. So not all my vests, but vests are back. So that's good. There's a lot of positive things about it. I'm watching very much what I eat and walking a lot. But no, I'm not going to the gym, so I guess you can mock me for that. Have my channel's metrics been affected by the introduction of new AI features in YouTube? I don't know. What do you think of it, positive or otherwise? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Have I missed Dice Star News recently, or has there not been a news video in the last 2 weeks? There hasn't been a news video. There wasn't one last week because, what was the reason? The fact is there's not a lot of news going on right now. We have some news. I've been saving up news. I know Stegmeyer announced a bunch of stuff, and there's some other news out there. We'll get to it. It won't be this week. It might be next week that we'll do some news for you. Mustache looks good. You going to keep it? Probably not. It really bugs me. We'll see. My wife says she doesn't care either way. So, are auto battlers going to be the next big genre? That's a good guess. It's possible. I think that we'll see some more of them. They're fun to do. I'm surprised they haven't taken off earlier, considering how many auto whatever games exist. That's a very popular genre on mobile. Who do you think would win in a fantasy football league if you did one in a studio? I think it would be a random winner. I only say that because if it's just picking which teams win, I don't think there's any real science to that. And you can go look and see what the experts predict and pick that and be just as good as a fan. If you're picking players and all that, probably. Then the fans would do it. I don't know who the biggest fans of sports are in the studio. Joey likes sports a decent amount. So do a few other people, maybe. I never talk sports in the studio, so I wouldn't know. Apps have a tendency to disappear when a company goes under, so is it a good idea to have games with apps? Really? Yeah. So? I mean, I can't live my life in fear that the company will go and the app won't work anymore. Did I get enough fun out of it while it lasted? Sure. I just feel like this is a straw man argument. If that worries you, then don't play games with apps. You're fine. But for those of us who like apps, games with apps, let us enjoy it. This argument all the time feels very like strident, and I'm like, I get it. Yeah, maybe the companies will go out of business. In fact, we've seen it. Some apps don't work anymore. And that's not great. But also, companies go out of business and no longer sell the board game, and you can't find it anywhere. It's the same thing. It's, I can't buy a TSR computer very easily or find a cassette tape to run my Tunnels of Doom game. Technology changes. But was I able to play it for 40, 50 times while the app did work? Yes, then it's worth it. Who cares? Which member of the Dice Tower would be the best at being a getaway driver in a heist? What is with these questions today? I don't know. Are you asking like who's the best driver? I don't know. Z maybe? I don't know. Let's see here. What is an auto battler? An auto battler is, so they're the biggest one. Like you put some cards, you build a deck of cards, and then you flip them over and see what happens. Challengers was an auto battler. That's probably the most popular one. Tag Team came out last year. Very popular auto battler, where you set things up and then you see what happens. I've always been a big fan of that. I always like the idea of clicking some buttons on some parameters and then see who wins. weight gain and convention season go hand in hand? Well, no. I mean, they do to some degree, but weight gain, I mean, I'm very happy with the fact that I started losing weight and I did it through the holidays. So if I can do it through the holidays, then I feel like I can do it anywhere. If I just need to, I mean, I won't lie to you all. Going to the doctor definitely put a big scare into me, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, I don't mind being a little fat and what have you, but it's another thing for the doctor to say, hey, man, you might die. And so I was like, well, that doesn't sound fun. So that's why I'm working on it. I'm not doing any crazy thing. Whenever I say I'm losing weight, I always get a bunch of emails from people who go, I have the key. It's like, we all know what the key is. The key is exercise more and eat less. It's so basic. It's just that those two things are hard, particularly for me, eating less. But now that I'm this far into it, the eating less is less of a problem. Once a week, I allow myself to eat whatever I want, which was yesterday, which wasn't even really that big of a deal. I had a pretty small meal, frankly, but I did have some gelato. I eat dessert once a week. I also drink only water now for the most part. I drink 1 cup of tea in the morning, and then I drink water the rest of the day. And it seems to be working. But I'm not like getting on other people's case and what they do. That's fine. I'm not trying to brag about it. I'm just happy I can wear a vest. Have I played the Rod Traders expansion? No, we have not gotten that yet. Tom, when you wear pink or red clothing, your face shows a lot more redder. Okay. Is that like a negative thing? I can't tell here. What are my favorite aliens in Cosmic Encounter now? I don't think they've changed since that video. I mean, maybe, but I'm still pretty happy with the ones I chose in that video. And is there any new ones since then? I don't know if that newest expansion came out. That might change it up a little bit. If they release another expansion, which I doubt, but if they do, then I'll do another top 10 on that. Are there any first edition Summoner Wars factions you'd like to see come back to the new edition? No, I haven't really thought about that. The ones I thought of are already in it. Did you receive the latest 2, Guild Dwarves and Drake's and Rebellion? I have received them, but I have not played / reviewed that yet, but it will happen. I was just thinking about that this morning. Where do you mostly buy your hats from? I bought a few online, but I mostly buy them at hat stores because I like to try the hat on, look at it, think about it. How does it match what I'm wearing, what have you? I discovered that cruises are not great for one's weight. Well, maybe, but I mean, we have the Dice Tower cruise coming up here, but I have a plan for that. I'm going to walk consistently. I'm going to walk as much as I can on a cruise. I'm just not going to pig out on the cruise. I might pick a couple meals and eat whatever. I'm just going to not eat much of the desserts on the cruise. I think I'll be fine. And you know what? If I'd have a little bit of a setback on the cruise, so be it. Then I'll just double down the week or two after the cruise. Why are there so few good sports games? Because sports don't make for a good board game. Sport is a fast-paced thing where it happens like this. All these different things are happening at one time. Some sports a little bit easier because there's play-by-play, which is why baseball makes for the best game. Because baseball, there is a pitch, there is a swing, the ball is hit, and then there's a quick, thrown things, and that's the end. And we stop, and we go to the next one. So that's why it's easiest to do for a board game. But the most popular sport in the world, football, soccer, is constant action. Basketball is constant action. Football is a mix between the two, but once that play happens, anything can happen. There's so much going on in there. And wrestling and boxing are tricky. Racing works because racing, you can just make these decisions as you move, and racing also, but you're still losing that super speed of racing. It just and a lot of games get real slow with racing, but racing works as a board game. Sports it's not a popular theme either. If you make a sports board game, it's likely going to sell pretty terribly. There's only a few that have done well, and even the ones that have done well haven't done amazing. So that's why. Have I played Hollow Knight or Silk Song? I played Hollow Knight for a while. I did not play Silk Song. I think that's a sequel, right? Hollow Knight, I played, and then I thought it was really cool and fun, and then I got to some of the bosses, and I just couldn't beat them. So that kind of ruined my momentum in that game. I think Hollow Knight for me was harder than Elden Ring. Am I planning on covering a new Warhammer Quest Darkwater game? I don't think we've gotten that one. If we do, then maybe I'll review it. With Dice Hour success, do you do much mentoring for small fledgling businesses in South Florida with advice on HR, accounting, legal? I don't think so. I don't think when people ask about small businesses, I'm just kind of like, man, I got lucky. I don't think I'm particularly good at it. My small business is not a local business. It is a global one where we are catering to people all over the world. And so like I don't have to worry about trying to get foot traffic or people to come into the Dice Tower. So it's tricky that way. Which member of the Dice Tower crew is the luckiest? That would be me, because I've just been fortunate with how the Dice Tower has worked out, and I have such a good crew. Do you watch any board game YouTube channels? Not on a consistent basis, because, I'm constantly doing board games. I like to keep an eye on things. I will occasionally go watch a board game video, if a review from different, and I try to look at a lot of stuff and keep my eye on a lot of things. So there's none that I watch particularly regularly at all, really. I just kind of go and pick and choose. Have you ever had a negative in-person reaction from a designer or publisher who gave you a bad review for? How do you handle it? Well, I've never had someone... Well, I shouldn't say that. So I've had designers come grab me at a con and tell me that if they just played the game with me, then I would like it better. And in fact, I did that once where the designer's like, play this, and I played it. And then I decided I won't do that anymore, because that's almost a bullying tactic on their ring. And I don't think the person was nice and everything to some degree. It wasn't that big of a deal. But the publisher actually came up in that regard and said, I'm sorry, that they shouldn't have done that. And you know what? If you didn't love the game, you didn't love the game. A lot of times, though, the publisher and designer are the same person. I've had publishers yell at people who worked for me or with me about me. Very rarely do they'll often complain. There is a former publisher who would complain to me every time I gave their game anything less than approved. I could give it a 6.5, and they're like, "That's you said the game was trash." That's fine. I think that was mostly joking, but it happens. They'll be like, "Oh, I wish you loved this and that." And sometimes they'll come up to me very honestly and say, "I would like to know what I could have done better." I feel bad, because if I say this game is awful, then you meet the people. It is a weird interaction. But at the end of the day, I can't let that stop me. I would try to listen politely if people say that. If someone was going to I've never had anyone get physical or even yelling at me. That's never happened. The worst was someone once drove to my house. I was not home at the time. I was gone for whatever reason. And my wife was there, and I was very displeased with that. I told them that was not cool to do that. But that was many years ago now. They left me a letter, explaining how bad my review was. But, and I've gotten some negative emails, but for the most part, the industry, like the vast majority of people in the industry, treat these things with class. And I think, honestly, they often treat them with more class than I deserve, right? If I say this game's terrible, I've seen people go online and complain publicly about a review we've done. They're saying we don't understand the game, what have you, and that's reasonable. It is what it is. Scythe's artwork looked more combat heavy than it really played, for sure. With the Scythe Expeditions dual game hinting at more conflict, how do you feel about leaning into mech versus mech combat? I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays. What's my prediction for the next duel or duo game? I have no idea. Pick the most popular game that's out right now. Galactic Cruise Duel. And I don't know. No, I don't know. But I have no thing. 1 week of eating more than normal on a cruise won't matter if you're eating normal most of the rest of the year. Sure. I just have to be cautious that I travel, 8, 9, 10 weeks a year, which is 1/5 of my year. So I have to be cautious to not do it every time I travel. And what I found is the trickiest part is when you travel, you eat, you're doing weird hours, you're not eating as you might normally do. And then when you get home, you continue on that trend and you can't. We'll see. We'll see. Keep me honest. Hey, Tom, a friend of mine who's been to several Gen Cons told me that you shouldn't go if playing a lot of board games is your goal. Is this true? What are the main reasons to attend Gen Con? Well, there's this one guy online who, if I say yes to this, will write a really, really, really long statement about how incorrect I am. So I don't care. I'll say it anyway. But here, it's a mix of two things. If you want to play a ton of board games at Gen Con, you can. There is publishers everywhere that will demo games for you gladly. There's an open, not great, but there's an open gaming area. Some publishers have open game rooms. A lot of them do now. If you just want to go and jump from game to game, you can. Gen Con is a big, wonderful convention. I like Gen Con. There's a huge spectacle. But if you want to ignore all that spectacle and everything and just play games, you definitely can. My thing is, if you're going to do that, then pick a convention whose focus is on playing games and go to one of them and just play games all the time. Why pay the high hotel costs at Gen Con and, fight through crowds and sometimes maybe have to have a hard time finding a game when you can go to an open gaming con? And I'm not talking about just mine, although I am. And I'm not, but there's BGG, Geekway West, and there's tons of small conventions, and all they do is play games straight. But I'm not saying anything negative about Gen Con, and I'm definitely not saying you can't play games there, because you can. I just don't think it's as easy to focus on gaming there the whole time as it is elsewhere. See you in the Philippines. Yeah, I'll be in the Philippines this coming May. Are you really the luckiest them? I think people who go about life with a bunch of gratitude will do very well. I don't know. I think we should have gratitude for what we have. I like my job. I like the people I work with. I like the different things that happen. Bad things happen all the time. Every Monday, there's things that go wrong. There's stuff that happens. There's things I got to fix. But at the end of the day, it's a good day. Still waiting for a Sky Team Star Trek announcement. I don't know that they've announced a Sky Team Star Trek, but I do know what's coming from Sky Team, and I think you're going to be surprised by it. Are you only reviewing games that publishers send to you? For the most part. How do you decide on what's popular enough to buy from the company budget if you don't receive one for free? I just make those calls. I get a lot of games, and sometimes a game is really, really popular, and the company doesn't send it to us, and I'm like, I'll hunt that down. There's a very, very, very popular line of games that the publisher does not like us and sends us nothing. So I know that, so I make sure I get all those games because people still want to hear our reviews of those games. So, but that is the vast minority. Most publishers do send us their games, and that's very generous of them. It does make me laugh when people still bring out that old tired trope of you play games you review to get games for free. Oh my, no, we do not. Games come in, it's a lot of work to do a review. I could go work doing something else and get the money to buy that game. Are there any video games that you think they can make a great board game of? Sure. It's possible, but I'm okay with them not. They keep transferring video games and board games, and sometimes it works, but I think it often does not. Am I a fan of water parks? I am a fan of water parks. My favorite water park currently is Aquatica in Orlando. And do I have a favorite type of ride? I do. My favorite type of ride is the fast-flowing rivers. It's kind of like a lazy river, but they keep the water going quickly, and you're just sitting there and you float around. You can put a life jacket on and float, or you can kind of just float on your own and swim through it. I get in those, me and my family, and we'll go around 10 times. I could do that and only that at the water park the whole time. I like the wave pool. Water slides are fun. You know, there's a really fun water coaster at Universal Studios Water Park. But for the most part, that fast-flowing river, and it makes me sad because most water parks don't have that, and that's by far my favorite thing. Universal has one, and Aquatica has one. Those are the only two parks that I know of that have them. I'm sure there's other ones, but I like them a lot. What are some top-of-mind good games with dwarves in them? The entire Lord of the Rings series. If I had a game published and Tom Vasel gave a negative review, I'd be crushed. I might not have thick enough skin to be a game designer. That's true, but I get that, but always focus on the people who do like your stuff. I know what it feels like because I've designed a game and I had it go through the review gauntlet, and there were people who trashed it. There are still people who trash it. Here, I'll be therapeutic for you. I'll read some negative reviews of my game. All right, let's see. Here we go. 2013. It's been 13 years now. But has 2,500 ratings. I'll go read some of the 4 ratings. As a playtest, so that doesn't count. All right. It was a bit swingy and hard to plan strategically. A fair bit depends what you draw, but I do like the concept of the game. That's actually a pretty nice 4 review. Too complicated for what it brings. Fair enough. A very average game that relies on the metagame to provide any reasonable fun. If you find the right crowd willing to spend 3 hours of their lives arguing, negotiating, and backstabbing each other, it might be worth considering. The game itself is a convoluted, chaotic mess. Invest a few plays first before you expect any meaningful experience. Don't expect new players to like this, even if they're hardcore gamers. They will spend most of the game trying to make sense of dozens of character powers, card effects, and arrows on the board. Bringing in non-gamers into this is a recipe for disaster. It's an okay game, says this person. Not my cup of tea. Kind of disappointing, seeing that a well-known critic was one of the designers, which the game should have been so much better. This one of the worst negotiation games I've ever played. All right, these are the 4s. Let's see if there's any 1s. Reminder for myself to never play this game again. Played it 2 times at BGG Spring on separate occasions, 4 years apart. Hated it both times. Rehashed gangster theme we have seen time and time again, more so than anything Egyptian. That's definitely not true. But all right. Thug themes are not a thing I enjoy, just a boring open negotiation snooze fest, thrown a pile of screwage, randomness screwage, not exactly entertaining. Maybe someone should do a review of this dud like this one, and then he has a link to a review that I trashed of a game, and throw a planned scripted temper tantrum going after designer and publisher. It should never have been published. It does nothing for the hobby. Nothing personal. Nothing funny, forgiven about that review, like many write it off to be. More of, I want to be a game designer, a one-off. There is just as anything shining about this thing. Reminds me of William Shatner's singing career. You just do it because someone will buy the album on name only. Can anyone really forget Shatner's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? Boring, ugly, long, dull, and king-making. Ha ha ha. Total disappointment. Random, convoluted nonsense. Now, I can laugh about these things. First of all, it's 13 years, right? But at the time, I wasn't even that upset. But I will say, I read some reviews and I was like, they played it wrong. They didn't do it right. They don't get the game. But it is what it is, right? So, if you ranked Nothing Personal a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or whatever, we're fine. We're cool. I don't mind. And I think, yeah, you do need a thick skin for that. And when it first comes out, but you also then, I just read you the 1s. I then can go back and read all the 10s and the 9s and the people who say very nice things about it. And that was always my goal when designing the game. I said, I want to make a game that some people love. I get that not everyone's going to love it, but if some people love it, I'm happy. When reviewing a game, do reviewers learn the game themselves, or do you lean on one another to teach if someone else at Dice Star has played it before? Well, that all depends. I do my best on a personal level to never be taught a game. If I'm taught by someone here in the studio, that's fine, because someone needs to be able to critique that rule book. But I usually say no to publishers and designers for teaching me their games so that I can look at the rule book and tell you if the rule book is good or not. Is there a reprint remake that you know of and are very excited about, but still cannot disclose due to NDA? No. But there is a reprint remake that I know about and very excited about, but I can't disclose because I said I wouldn't. I didn't sign an NDA. I just won't do it. Do you know if there are any regional cultural differences in terms of what kind of board games are more popular? For example, card games in Asia, rules heavy in Europe, or more luck-based in the U.S.? I'm hesitant to quantify anything like that. I think there is obviously cultural things that are going to affect all sorts of board games. There are things that are popular in areas, and they're just very popular. Small games do well in Japan because there is less space there, less space to have giant spreads of tables and things. And so that's one of the reasons they'll do more popular there. And certain types of games will spring up in areas, but we'll see that the more globalized an area gets, you'll see all kinds of divergent different types of games that people play. Do you have to be conscious about how personal or friendly you get with the Dice Tower crew? You guys all seem to be good friends, but you still have the boss-employee relationship to uphold too. Sure, that's always a thing. It's always going to be things, and that's pretty much, I think, all I really want to talk about that, because it's a thing, but it's just something I have to do inside. It's a thing you have to do for every boss/employee. I visited Aquatica last year, but the Ribbits River was closed for refurbishment. Oh, man, that would make me so sad. I would actually, I wouldn't want to leave the park at that point. Hey, Tom, I'm trying to remember a game book you reviewed about 6 months ago where it was an RPG you play and write in. I actually reviewed a few of them, and I don't remember the names of them right now. Maybe someone else in the chat can answer that. Was Mule ever ported to a board game? It was. You can look it up. I reviewed it. Adventureland in Tampa is pretty good for water parks. Is that the Universal one? Because my daughter went there and she said it was okay at best. I will not stand for all this Shatner singing besmirchment. Now they might be right on that one. Do you have a favorite Uber Play Flatbox games? Wow, you're digging back into the past. I would have to go back and look at them. I don't know off the top of my head. Wow. Have volunteer signups open up for Dice Tower West? I don't know. You can email the people at Dice Tower West and see Dice Tower West Facebook group. I haven't kept track of that. I don't know. Happy New Year, Tom. Here's a free question. What question would you love to answer today? Go ahead and answer that. I don't really care. People always ask us, like, what question do you wish people would ask you? I don't know. Just ask questions. Top 10 games that need a 2.0. Vicious Fishes. Maybe. What is your favorite New Year's Eve food? Cheese. Starting to read more this year. Any hidden gems, recommendations for fantasy sci-fi books to start on? No, I'm currently reading through Mother of Learning, which is a sort of lit RPG. It's not really because it doesn't have page after page of stats, which I hate. But it does have a guy who's trapped in a time loop, and he's getting better as a magician. He's very unlikable at first, and he becomes less unlikable as time goes by. It's very long, though. And if someone has something that's very similar to that, I'd love to hear about it. What's my favorite spooky urban legend? I don't think I have one. The Jackalope. Thank you for all the nice comments people are saying. Adventureland has Busch Gardens Water Park. Right. Does it have a river rapids, though? If there was a movie made in a Dice Tower, which actor would play you? I have no idea. Which actors would play any of the other hosts of Dice Tower? I have no idea. Sorry, these are games I don't play particularly. People want to do that sort of thing. They'll never make the movie unless something really dreadfully bad happens here, which we would hope not. Cheese is the correct answer to most questions. Tom, you should find all those reviewers from 13 years ago, drive to their houses, and insist they play the game with you. No, but I think it was good for me. You know, there was definitely, like the one person said that he basically, in a way, he said hubris, right? Just because you can review doesn't mean you can design a game. 100%. I agree on that. I didn't do it because of hubris and I needed to design a game. I did it because I had an idea for a game and I thought, let's run with this. And the more I worked on it, the more I liked the game. But by putting the game out there and letting people review it and say negative things, it let me feel what it's like from the other end. From seeing the publishing side of things helped me out a lot. See how publisher to designer think. That's helped me out a lot as just in board game media because I've seen that side of it. So it's helped me out a bit. I've seen a Kickstarter run from that end, and that sort of thing is interesting. And was the whole process good? No, there was a lot of bad things about it. A lot of things I didn't like. A lot of different mess ups and things that went on behind the scenes. But I learned from all that. I hope. So I think we can agree, and it's not even a hot take. The blank card, create your own X is the worst. Not always, but usually, whenever I get a game with some blank cards, I usually just throw them away. I mean, I don't think they're like, you create your own. No. I have done it a few times in the past. I remember when I first got Apples to Apples, I was so enamored. We played Apples to Apples all the time. And when I found out there were cards that you could make your own Apples to Apples, you would buy like a sheet of pre-printed cards, run them through a printer, and it was such a nerve-wracking process. You're running a normal piece of paper first to make sure it printed on the same part. And I still have some of those cards somewhere here in the studio. I think that I printed. I don't even remember what I put on them. I think my name is on one, and neckties might be on one. I don't know what the stuff is on them, but I was amused by that. But for the most part, I don't build my own cards and games. Let's see here. Did you dress for the critiques and nothing personal? It's ironic that you're talking about how not to take a criticism personally when reviewing a game called Nothing Personal. Although it is funny because that is what several people, that's their review of the game. They're like, I don't like it. Nothing personal. That's in several of the comments and stuff. The name, where did it come from? I don't remember who came up with the name, me and my co-designer Steve. I just remember someone said it at one point and I was like, done. Nothing personal. What a good name for the game. Did we have a thread on BGG about it? Maybe. I don't remember. It just was one of those times where I heard Nothing Personal and I was like, done. Also, it's really obvious the first expansion would be called It's Just Business. It was just, I liked that concept, but Nothing Personal I thought was a good name. And there's a lot of things I would change about the game, 13 years later. I've learned a lot about games and design and things like that, but I would keep the name. I also stand by the art direction of Dan May. I think he did a great job drawing those pictures. I do apologize. I think this is one of the games that was a catalyst for having backers be in the game. It was an idea I came up with, and it hadn't been done much at that point. And I think that has made a lot of games less useful now. I went around and, at the time I went down and got so many, there's so many, at the time, famous designers and publishers and different people who were in that game. But Dan May did a great job in the artwork. I like how the game looks. The biggest problem the game has is its mechanisms. There's a lot of things there that I would streamline and do better. I didn't want to be involved in the redone version, so I handed all the rights over to my co-designer, Steve Avery, for Nothing Personal 2, and I had nothing to do with that one, and I have not played or reviewed it because I can't be unbiased there at all, really. But I was very happy with it. It was a neat project, and it's a chapter in my life that I'm probably pretty much done with. What's your favorite restaurant during Dice Tower West? I don't know if I have a single restaurant, but at Dice Tower West, if I can find the time, and I can find the time, take an Uber or drive over to Chinatown, which is not that far away. In Chinatown, there are so many good restaurants. There's a place we go to. We get hot soup dumplings. There's a place that has all-you-can-eat sushi. There's a great Korean barbecue there. There's just a lot of really good Asian restaurants there that I love. I know the GameFound launches soon. Any sneak previews for us? Well, let me show you if I can pull it up here. Where are my logo? There we go. Let me see if I can. Let me show you one of the logos for it. It's gonna. There we go. Underwater theme. Ooh, look at the fish. And I'll show you one of the characters. Let's see. Nope, not one of those. It's a merman. I'll show you one more. It's a pufferfish. There you go. That's some of the stuff. How do you feel about scenario games like Mansions of Madness? I always feel ripped off sometimes when I'm paying so much for the box. Do you think devs should at least continue to support? I don't know what you mean by this. How do I feel about scenario games? I like them. I always feel ripped off sometimes when I'm paying so much for the box. I guess can you clarify your question? What are you getting ripped off about? If I found the Jaws of lineup keep to be too overwhelming, do you think I'd feel differently about Iridia? I don't know, but I would watch our 30-hour marathon coming up, and you'll know. I think Iridia has less upkeep than Gloomhaven. Going back to Uberplay, I really like China and Hansa second. Yeah, maybe. I heard a game reviewer recommend Australis because it's a great gateway game for several common mechanisms. Maybe. I like Australis. Good. Do you have any other recommendation for games along those lines? Sure. Look up a top 10 list of top 10 family games or top 10 welcoming games. I definitely do that. When will the top 100 of all time be live cast this year? 1 week from today it begins. My top 100 list is done. We will be launching next Monday. Like I said, there's so much going on in the next week and a half. I hope you enjoy it. Still wondering how long it'll take to playtest Terraforming Mars and the tweaking of the cards and all around the game boards. I don't know, probably a while. Do you think that Zombicide being owned, developed by another company will refresh the series? I have high hopes for the pirate version, and if they went a different direction, I'd be happy with that. I don't know. We'll watch and see. It's interesting. I remember when Zombicide was at its heyday, we were like, hey, there is now a new Fantasy Flight. But now it is Fantasy Flight. So go figure. What goes around comes around. Can you eat and see some other things if you attend Dice Tower East without a rental car? Well, sure. I mean, you can always, just take an Uber somewhere where Dice Tower East is really close to Disney Springs, which is a really fun place to visit. It's like an outdoor mall to some degree with a lot of great restaurants and a lot of the Disney stores. There's a Star Wars store and a Marvel store and the biggest Lego store I've ever been in. And just there's live music there and all kinds of fun things. I really like going to Disney Springs. And I mean, also, if you want to go to Disney, it's right around the corner. In fact, the hotel does shuttles to Disney. Universal's not far. SeaWorld's not far. There's other smaller museums and things around the corner, too. What's your favorite Latin dish? I don't know. FinSpan promos confirmed. No, I'll confirm there's no FinSpan promos. Stonemaier Games does not do promos. What are your thoughts on some recent games opting for cloth boards? I don't like it on a personal level. I get the cheapness of it and all, but I just don't like cloth boards at all. I think they're too easy to move. Pieces can come off them. They get wrinkles in them. Even the ones that are really flat, I'd rather just have a board. The current logo you have in GameFound immediately made me think of the Water Temple boss from Ocarina of Time. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're asking about Mansion of Madness. Only 6 scenarios in the box with more costing almost $60. Yes, but you are not. I think you're looking at it. You're like, oh, there's only 6 scenarios. You can play each of those scenarios dozens of times. They're going to change. There's going to be different things. They randomize those scenarios. So don't think of it as I only get 6 scenarios. Think I got 6 different ways to play the game in the box. That's how I feel about it. Favorite game with a trader mechanism. I'll have to do that as a top 10 sometime. Favorite card drafting game. That's another top 10 we're about to do. Personal question. We're about to have our 5th child. We're running out of space in our van. What did you all do for transportation with so many kids? Well, in Korea, we walked everywhere, basically. But in America, we had a Ford Ecoline, which is a 12-passenger, and so that handled it. I only had 9 of us. We had 7 kids. And I was like, and we can also take 3 more people if we need to. Once Melody went to college, I was like, yes, we can go down. So we moved down and got a 7-passenger vehicle. And now we still have a 7-passenger vehicle. My wife's is a 7-passenger and mine is 5. But yeah, they're almost never full. The kids like when we both drive somewhere because then there's 2 shotguns. If there was a Dice Tower award for most improved publisher of the year, which publisher would you love to give this award to at the end of the year? I feel like you're asking me which publisher needs to improve, and I don't know that I want to answer that particularly. Universal, Orlando, or Disney World, and why? I'm a bigger fan of Universal. I think the rides at Universal are more exciting. I think the theming of Universal is more in line with the stuff I'm interested in. Don't get me wrong, I think Disney's fine. They're both very expensive. But I'll tell you the main reason I would pick going to Universal is because with Universal, it's very expensive. And then you buy a Fast Pass, which is even more expensive. But then you know what you're doing. You go to line, you get in the Fast Pass. With Disney, when I hear people talk about Disney nowadays, they make it sound like a Euro game. They're like, okay, so I've been working on it, and I have these things scheduled, and we're going to go from here to there, and then we're going to get this line here. And then I'm like, wow. I just want to kind of walk around a park and go on stuff. I don't want to put all this effort into it. And you really do have to put this effort in, apparently, for all these Disney people. So that's why I'd pick Universal Studios. But I also just like the cooler, it has more of a teen vibe to it. Disney's cool. I like them both. But you know where I go? SeaWorld. Thank you for the tribute. That's nice. How busy is the Wednesday before Gen Con like? It's not too bad. It's busy because, there's a, 70, 80,000 person con, and a good chunk of them have come in by then. Tell the chief I said hi, bye. See you in a Blorm cycle. He would not understand that nonsense, Blorm cycle. It's Belian cycle. All right, I can't stop watching Dice Tower Con. I haven't even touched a board game in years. Well, that's weird. You should play board games. Thanks for providing such great content. Proving valuable to someone who's just trying to get into games. Our pleasure. Have I played the Danes? I have not. Am I a Lego guy? Sort of. I love Legos as kids. I was always jealous. All my friends had the castle sets, so if they let me play with those, I thought it was great. We got the big bucket of generic Legos, and we would get, my mom would buy a new set of those every year, so we had tons of Legos to build things. But I always thought, man, it'd be nice to have those really cool theme sets, but they were really expensive back then. Somewhere between my childhood and adulthood, adults got into Lego. And while in one aspect that's really cool, I also find it very disheartening to some degree. Legos just really aren't for children. Yes, kids can play them, but they're so expensive. Not that they weren't expensive when I was a kid, but they're like when you go, we have a flea market near us, and there's a place that sells minifigs there. They're so expensive to buy these little minifigures. You're paying like on the cheap end $5 for one of them. $5 for a little figure like that. it's just a Lego figure. Like, why can't I just go buy a whole big set of 200 of them for a cheap price and play with them? And the aftermarket, trying to find them on eBay, Craigslist, and everything, is very difficult because, again, the adults hunt them up and collectors and stuff. So it's fine. I think Lego is fantastic, and there's a lot of cool things. I'm not as interested. I do occasionally buy a set. Me and my son will put it together, and it's very cathartic. But then I'm done. So I only buy a Lego set if I really have a spot for that in the studio or at my house where I'm going to put that thing and build that. Other than that, I kind of look at them and go, maybe one of my grandkids will get into Legos, and then I'll get them for him. We'll see. What about us grumpy old men that won't be found dead in Universal, Orlando, and Disney World? I don't know. Don't go. What are you asking? Oh, are you asking like things to do in Orlando? Well, there's a car museum in Orlando, Deezerland. I always tell people to go Deezerland. It's like a big Chuck E. Cheese / inside mini golf, pinball, arcade. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and there's a car museum there called Deezerland. What was my initial reaction to seeing Simon being sold off and shrinking so much? Well, I'm kind of like, man, that kind of sucks. I'm not happy for them. I'm also not glad it's happening, but it also is kind of the way things go. Companies go out of business, new companies come in. So, have you been made aware of a running gag on the Board Game Barbecue podcast that Dana is obsessed with you? I know nothing about what you're talking about. The bucket of random Legos is best for kids to use their creativity. The sets are better for adults. That's probably true, but even with those sets, you can build it. I always like the castle sets because you'd build the castle, then you would unbuild it and build something else. If you buy an X-Wing now, you build the X-Wing and you're done. I don't know. I like the idea of building and rebuilding. Just got a Dominion based on your recommendation. What expansions do you think are the best? My favorite is still probably Prosperity and Seaside. Those are the two I'd recommend you start with. Unboxing about it. Faithfully watch you. Seems like a sickness, right? Well, no. Love Toomey V content. I've been called Toomey in a while. I'm turning 40 this year. Any goal ideas for the next decade that you had when turning 40? No, I don't make New Year's resolutions. I make resolutions, but I don't make them at the beginning of a year. I'll sit and think I'm going to do something, and then I do it. It's the same thing, too. It's always tough for me when we do our Game Found every year, and we're like, and this year we're going to do this. And when I try to come up with some ideas of things we're going to do for the year, but I'll come up with an idea. I'll sit upon it, ruminate on it, think about it, and then we just do it. I'm not waiting to the beginning of the year to do stuff. So same thing with decades. This 50 is like looming over me, right? I'm going to be old in a sense. But yeah, it is what it is. It's just another number, and we move on. If you want to come to my Dice Tower 50th Dice Tower vacation, I think there's maybe a few spots open. So email me at tom@dicetower.com about that. But right now, what I want you to do is to remember that we're launching our Game Found this Wednesday. We're doing the marathon on Thursday and Friday. And then next week, we're doing the top 100 games of all time. But either way, all that points back to that Game Found. If you'd like what we do, be prepared. We're launching at noon. We also got reviews and lots of other things going up. I've already recorded several reviews that will be going up this week. And we got more on the way. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to end here a couple minutes early. And I appreciate it. I will see you all soon. We're going to be all over the internet doing all kinds of different things. Until next time, though. Oh, I already did shout-outs. I do that shout-out again where the guy wants them at the end of the video. See you next time.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us for that video. If you haven't yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hey, make sure you check out what's happening, where I'll cover an app on an iOS or a Switch device, and you can check it out along with me. Thanks very much. You've been watching The Dice Tower.